We'll start with Kareem.
Hey, Mike, how's it going? How are you feeling?
Feeling much better. The last couple of days have been better. So, yeah, despite watching the games.
Well, yeah, not talking about games, just talking about your own health.
Well, that affects my health, watching that.
So got the blood pressure up a little bit?
Probably. I don't know.
Well,
sometimes it's yelling at officials and it's sometimes yelling at ours. So.
Well, shoot, Eric got a little yelling in the other day. Yesterday, actually.
Yep. Ironically, although he didn't know it at the time, I had texted Maria beforehand to tell him it's so bad, go ahead and get a technical, I'll pay for it.
Yeah, he said he didn't know if he had enough credit in the bank to talk about the officiating last night.
None of us do. None of us have that kind of credit.
Well,
those fines are too big.
Yeah, it was a little interesting yesterday, but yeah. I'll get going. Once again, glad to hear you're feeling well.
Yep.
Have you gotten a chance to talk to the whole team at this point?
I did briefly after the game yesterday, and I just got off a team meeting call with them a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they all met in person. I mean, I think, without going into a ton of specifics, because I didn't even go into all of them with them, I'm a big believer, in the old Bill Parcells one, you are what the scoreboard says you are. And we're 12-20. And we have a lot of reasons. Some are good excuses and some are not. But the fact of the matter is, we're not in rebuild mode, but we're in a reset button mode. We need to reset our culture and how we go about things, and we need to redevelop an identity. And I don't think we had an identity of being good at anything this year. We weren't a good shooting team. We weren't a great defensive team. There were days we were good defensively. We weren't particularly a dominant rebounding team. We were a better rebounding team earlier in the year. And so the fact of the matter is we weren't great, no matter how you look at it. And obviously, if you put, Elena and Alicia Clark into the lineup and you have, some of those other players available for more games, yeah, it would look different. But I can't count on just that being the answer. We have to fix some other things too. And it's a very simple fact. When you are next to last in the league in field goal percentage, and you don't shoot as well as you normally do from the 3-point line or the free throw line, that's got to be fixed. And it's not just, a couple players. It's, we have, 5 players who played a fair amount of minutes, shoot in the mid 30s for the most part from the floor. That's not good enough. Defensively, we didn't get stops. We didn't protect the rim. We didn't, do what we're supposed to do. We're normally a low turnover team, and we were by the number of turnovers, but not to our standards. And the turnovers we had led to more points than normal. Usually if let's say you commit 13 or 14 turnovers, which is considered low in our league, but those can't be, those can be 13 or 14 points. They can't be 20. Mm-hmm. And those things catch up. We can complain all we want about the officiating, but the fact of the matter is our opponents throughout the year shot more free throws than us. And that's not acceptable. I mean, we lose a game yesterday and I can scream and moan all I want about the officials, but the fact of the matter is there's different officials every night. And so it's not the same one coming every time to penalize you. I've told that to several of our players. They're complaining that they're not getting good calls for them. Well, it's different. It's one thing if it's the same official making those calls on you, but when 25 different officials call the same call, then guess what? You're probably fouling people, so it's all of those things. And so we had people playing big minutes this year that wasn't the intention when we signed them. The intention was them to be role players and to, play 5, 10, 12 minutes, not to be playing 20 plus minutes as starters. That's a fact of the matter, but we have to fix that this offseason. And so it's, the coaches need to figure out, can we coach them better? Can we teach them different things? Can we improve how we practice? Practices have been tough. We didn't have practice guys, but that was the same for the whole league, the first half. So, but, we have to figure out ways to, when you're playing every other day, for the stretch that we did, how do we manage that time maybe better? And it's all of those things, but talent at the end of the day, you have to have enough talent to win games. And my evaluation is, through injuries and everything else, our talent wasn't good enough to win enough games. It just isn't. That's the fact of the matter.
Is it strange to kind of be in this position, talking about a reset when, literally just at the beginning of the year, we talked a lot about, you guys having this window, especially, if you count last year also, but you didn't, the team that you built after 2019, looking at that window, you never really got a shot to kind of run it with that whole group. Is it just kind of an odd position to be in?
It's a very odd position because I think what we did to reset our team, as far as, signing Myisha, bringing Tina here, counting on Elena to be better health-wise. You can't, we didn't have any thought that Myisha would miss over half the season or close to half the season. Yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, but I think a lot of it's fixable too. It's not, it would be different if you're coming into a situation saying, boy, the cupboard's bare, we don't have talent. We have Elena and Alicia and Natasha and Ariel Atkins and Erica McCall signed for next year. And so we have to figure the rest of it out. And we have a lot of restricted free agents and unrestricted free agents. Some will stay, some won't. There will be some other people out there in the league that we'll look at. We have a lottery pick now in the draft. The last time we went through this was the year we did the deal for Elena. We missed the playoffs. We had a lottery pick. It gave us a chip to use in a trade, and we need to use this chip that we have wisely. I don't like not being in the playoffs, but if we're not in, then we have an opportunity with the lottery pick and, some little bit of flexibility as far as, choosing how we use our cap money. We have an opportunity to fix some things. And then you still, like every other team, you're going to still knock on wood, hope you stay healthy. But we know the things that we're supposed to do, and we're going to go out and try to do them.
One last thing for me, I'm not going to hold everybody up. I wanted to ask about, can you update us just how Elena's feeling now and what the plan for her kind of moving forward would be as far as just kind of health-wise?
Well, I will say this. We have a meeting scheduled. We've had one already, and I'm not revealing everything we talk about. We've had one meeting with our medical, doctors and trainers and everybody, to try to formulate a plan. We'll have another one coming forward here soon. I don't know exactly what the answer is. I do know this. Despite her not playing these last couple weeks, she has made progress this summer. Much slower than we thought, but she has made progress. The setback is more from some nerve issues that are being pressed on that they're called radicular symptoms. You guys can all go look that up and Google it. But, for anybody that's had, those kind of issues, it's almost like referred pain in a sense. So we think, based on all the discussion we've had, that it's solvable. She is optimistic about it. Doctors are optimistic about it. But I just, we were in a position the last couple of weeks that just didn't feel comfortable putting her back in that position and having a setback that was needless. And I just think that's where we are. And as we go forward in the off season, we will update people, hopefully more regularly now that we're, able to maybe do a little bit more non-pandemic. I mean, we have all those issues still in front of us, but, we were in a little bit tougher position, but I think we have a better grasp of some of the issues that can be addressed. But I think there's a lot of optimism amongst everybody in the medical side that she will improve a lot this offseason and be a lot more prepared to play. There's no guarantees, obviously, ever with that kind of injury, but I think everybody around it feels a lot more optimistic, and most importantly, she does.
That's perfect. I appreciate you. I'll
Yep.
let some other folks chat for a while. Thank you.
Yep.
Tyler.
Hey, Mike, I'll keep it on Elena real quick. It almost sounds like her tweaking her back in that game may have been kind of like a red flag that you guys were able to see. And was that kind of like a good way to read it?
I don't know that was particular. I mean, we've made a lot about that was a trigger point at that time, but I think there were still some other issues going on, and she was just trying to test and see where she was. I don't know that that's particularly why we shut it down. I just think there were some symptoms there all along, and that just probably magnified it a little bit. I'm not the medical person that should be, speaking to medical issues, but I just feel like, it's, I mean, she's talked about this before, but it's the issues of, can I just be comfortable driving my car or doing these other things, or is there some discomfort there that, can be addressed? And I think that's what we're trying to address right now.
Okay. And I know this, with you being out and Eric stepping into being the main guy, I know you've talked about in the past how maybe having a succession plan. Obviously, this isn't how you wanted it to happen, but have you learned some things about maybe how this process will go down the line? And
not particularly from this, because I think I already knew. I mean, I thought Eric did a terrific job, not because he's my son, but because he's an assistant coach that, has been placed in a position of doing this. He's had opportunities to go somewhere else to be a head coach, has turned it down to stay here. He's ready now. He's probably a better coach than me in some ways. We both see the game somewhat similarly, but the difference in age and the difference in how you view the game, those are healthy discussions in our office amongst our entire staff. I've felt all along that when I'm ready to walk away from it, he's ready. I have felt that for a couple of years now. I have made no decision on a timetable for me. I'm certainly, I take every off season and take a couple months to say, okay, where are we? What do I feel like? How do we go about it? I've told some of you this has been the hardest year I've ever experienced in 50 plus years of coaching. But it's a combination of things. It's not just the injuries. It's a lot of things. The pandemic hasn't helped anybody in that regard, and how you view things and how you go about day-to-day things. This last weekend, I think only probably confirmed what I already knew, that he's ready. I think our players respect him, but I'm not sure I'm giving it to him yet either. One way or the other, this team is still going to have my imprint on it for the near future. And I don't like the idea of, walking away from something that needs to be fixed or repaired. And so, my job right now is to address immediate concerns with our team. There are longer term concerns to be dealt with, and we've got a lot of months to do it. One more month than I wanted to have, but we'll get that done. But I think he's completely ready for this, and he's done a great job.
One last one.
Sure.
With Tina signing 1-year deals, each year you basically have to re-court her into making her make a decision.
We can't court her. She's not allowed to be courted. She was courted in New York enough times that she's past that.
I meant courted, as in like trying to convince her.
Courted.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where that stands. I mean, I think time away from the end of the season is the first part of it. For her to, get away from the emotion of losing. I mean, she came here to win a championship, and nothing she signed up for went right. She signed up to play with Elena and Myisha and Tosh and Ariel and those guys, and wasn't intending to come here and be the go-to scorer. And so all of a sudden that changed. And I think that, she probably needs some time to think about, what she wants out of her future. And, this is not even related to her necessarily, but how do we fit in our salary cap, what we need to make our team whole going forward? I mean, we have salary cap decisions to make, just like a couple other key teams do, that will impact us, not just in the short term, but in the long term. I mean, Myisha is a restricted free agent. Emma is unrestricted. Tina's unrestricted. Emma's got to deal with national team stuff again with the World Championships coming at the end of our season. So we have a lot of hard discussions to have with our players and see how it all fits together. I really don't have an answer to that yet, but part of it is, does Tina want to be here? And yeah, we'll probably have to go through that process again. But at least right now, she has an idea of what her teammates are like, the organization is like, and I'm sure she's frustrated with some of what occurred this summer. We all are. And so we'll have to figure that out over the next couple of months. But again, none of that is something we're going to do this week. Free agency doesn't start until middle January. And, we'll be prepared with a plan. We will have interviewed and talked to all of our players, and we'll know how they feel probably within the next, 60 days or so. But everybody needs, when you have a season like this, I always find it amazing. Everybody wants to have exit interviews right away. And I think for some of your key players, they are better served to have exit interviews when you've had time to step away from it and have a maybe more calm perspective about the whole thing. Trying to make all your decisions the day after you get eliminated is a pretty tough, thing to do.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to see you're doing well.
Yep. Thanks.
Scott.
Hey, Mike, glad to see you healthy. It's all fun and good when you're winning consistently and you're in the playoffs competing for a championship. And now you got to do some tinkering. You got to figure out what are the fixes. Is that kind of the fun part, the challenge of trying to figure out to get back to that championship level, Mike?
Fun is a relative term.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the challenge. I mean, it's why I took this job in DC in the first place, because it couldn't have been any worse than when I came here. And so that was the challenge of doing that, and building it was fun. And I think there will be parts of it that'll be fun and some of it won't be. I think, there's going to be some calculated risks when you talk about salary cap balanced with injuries, older players. How many of those can you have on a team? We just had a discussion with one of our doctors that's a huge issue when you're trying to put together a team for the long haul. How many of those players have past injuries that could crop up and be a factor? And almost every key player in our team has that, one way or the other. I mean, Tina's had her issues, Ariel's had her issues, Natasha's had her issues. Luckily, they didn't result in 3-month issues, but we've had them all. And so that will be an interesting part of this whole thing, is to a better understanding of what kind of medical or injury risk we want to put with all the other decisions about talent and chemistry and financial. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts when we try to put this together.
I was listening to your answer to Kareem, and you mentioned culture, changing the culture, tinkering the culture. Do you feel like the culture has maybe slipped a little bit since winning that title? Maybe some complacency's been setting in a little bit?
I don't know if it's complacency. I think part of it is a lot of different players. You know, everybody wants to keep talking about 2019, and yet the reality is that the only players on our team this year that had any connection to 2019, there were only 4 of them. I mean, Myisha, Natasha, well, 5, I guess, Elena, and Shatori when we brought her back. Nobody else was a part of that culture. And I think they've all come from different backgrounds. And I think that, and I say culture, it's not just day-to-day how you treat each other. It's style of play. It's the pace you do things. I think it's how you do your workouts. I think it's all of that. And I think there's been slippage. I don't know if it's from complacency or unfamiliarity too. I think it can be all of the above a little bit.
And, you know, I probably speak for everybody on the Zoom. We don't want you to leave. We don't want you to step away from coaching. But when you do know that it's time, what will that look like? How will you know when it's time, Mike, to kind of hang up the whistle?
I've always told myself, and I've talked to people who have gone through this, friends, when I don't want to get up and go to the office or coach my team in practice, and it's more than a couple days in a row, then it's time. You know, Ted Leonsis and I and Sheila Johnson and I have a kind of a working agreement that I can make that choice. And if I want to just be the GM, I can do that. But I want it to be at the right time. I don't know. I mean, I just know that I'll know. And you know, there are days, you know, part of it is this season, there are days you go, man, I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need this crap. But at the end of the day, I still wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning with thoughts about what we need to fix something or a new play or everything. So that tells me I'm still engaged mentally with it, that I haven't bagged it. So when those days go away, then I might be concerned.
How many years have you coached for, Mike?
50 plus. I don't know the exact. I started coaching when I was 17 and I'm going to be 71. So you tell me, whatever that works out to, 54, something like that.
You still got a lot of miles left on those tires. Come on now.
We'll see.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Jen.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you doing well. Toya doing well as well still?
Yes, she is. She was on the call with us, saw the little guy. She's lucky he's sleeping. I wish mine had slept. But she's doing well. Yeah, she's going to be a great mom. So
good to hear. Glad we're getting more kids to potentially see at games in the coming years.
Yep.
I asked Tosh this yesterday, but curious to get your take as well, just on how missing the playoffs this time feels similar or different to the situation in 2016.
Wow, it's a little bit different. I mean, it always sucks. So I don't have a simple answer. In 2016, we didn't have that same hope right at the end of still getting in. We had to shut down a couple players, Latoya being one of them, actually. She was injured. Ariel Atkins got injured. A couple other people were injured. You know, we were bringing people in and out. Ironically, it was also an Olympic year. But we spent the whole time after the break just kind of beat up. And I don't know what her answer was. At that time, it was kind of an unknown for us. We knew we were going to be in the lottery. We got, fortunate enough to get the second pick, to use that to go as part of the deal to get Elena. And my feeling is missing the playoffs this time, while while it's tough not to be in it, I can see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel if we're smart enough to make use of our resources and do the right evaluations. Whether the lottery pick becomes a young player in the draft or whether it becomes a trade chip like it was in 2016, that's to be determined, and I have no idea at this point. We have some decisions to make on some players. Back in 2016, we didn't know that the Elena thing was going to happen when we missed the playoffs. So nobody could have foretold what we were about to enter. This time, for me personally, we say this the right way. We're trying to build ourselves with the ability to win a championship. The similarities is in neither in 2016 or this year had we made the playoffs. I don't think we're good enough to win a championship in either of the years. We would relish the opportunity this year to keep competing, go down and play Phoenix in a one-game playoff thing. You never know. But for the long term, the long haul, we're not the most talented team. And we were going to be shorthanded in every game we played in the playoffs. And I felt the same way in 2016 because of the injuries and the health of our team and not the talent level of those teams. We have an opportunity to get back into the elite group right now. And so that's going to be kind of the opportunity we try to take.
And, you know, obviously there was that mid-season kind of experimenting with your bench in terms of cutting a few players, bringing in Shatori and eventually signing Meg to that rest of season deal. Do you feel like that gave you a better sense of, you know, who you might want to retain in kind of the role player category versus, you know, how many spots you might want to fill externally?
I don't know that did. I think that both of them, though, came in and did what we hoped for. That doesn't X things in one way or the other for next year. You know, we're going to have conversations with both of them about what our expectations are for them coming back. Obviously, Shatori's a restricted free agent, and Megan is our reserve player or I don't know whether she's reserve or restricted. I can't remember, but there's an opportunity for them to try to improve upon what they did coming in. I'm happy with what they did. But there's no guarantees for anybody right now. You know, as far as, you know, if you don't have a guaranteed contract, you know, you got a lot to prove. So I just think that I'm happy we made those changes. I think it was the right thing to do. And I think that the two of them kind of validated that choice.
Thanks, Coach, and thanks for your time all season long.
Yep, you bet. Thanks.
That's all the time we have with Coach. Ariel is ready. Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Bye.
Thanks, Coach.
Katz, can you lower the laptop screen?
Oh, I see.
Probably that way. Oops, sorry, I'm a little slow. Hey, what's up, Ariel? How are you?
Hold on. We're having audio issues. Hold on.
Okie dokie.
Here we go. What do you
Maybe it's on here. The volume is it?
think? It's supposed to be in this complicated.
Yeah, it says settings using your microphone.
Oh, there. That's why I got it. It was on it right here. Try again.
Hey, are you me? Try again. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are we ready? I want me to start.
They had it all the way up there.
Okay, I think we're good. Yes, thumbs
Yeah, I
up.
can hear you. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, just saying what's up again. Appreciate the time. Obviously, I know this is kind of a quick turnaround and, after everything kind of ended last night, but I'm just curious, when you look back and, just kind of think back of the season, what are kind of some of the things that, stand out the most to you? I know, so much adversity that you guys kind of had to overcome between, folks missing games and this, that, and the other, but, what are the major things that stood out to you about this season, or maybe areas that you guys kind of fell short that you got to progress in?
Yeah. I think the thing that stood out to me the most is how we aren't great at one thing. I think if you look across the teams in the league, there's one thing that a few teams in this league can hang their hat on, one thing that they're going to do well every single night. And I'm not sure we gained that consistency as far as a team. And then individually, I just think I need to be better. If my teammates are going to trust me with the ball in my hands, not majority of the game, but most of our offensive sets, I think I can be better with time scoring situation, and then also being better defensively.
That's what I was going to say. At this point, do you get away from it all and take a break and try to mentally clear out, or are you one of those ones that are like, I want to get back in the gym right now and start working on some of these things?
Yeah, well, definitely can't stop working out. Gotta go play overseas. But I do have to unplug just for a little bit. It's been a pretty tough year. Just with everything that we've honestly been dealing with in the world for the past 2 years. So just taking that time to kind of unwind a little bit, and give myself kind of that grace, honestly, to be like, hey, at the end of the day, this is where we are. You got to be where your feet are. This is what happened. And in about 2 or 3 days from now, I'll deep dive into it and figure out what it is that I need to get better at and what it is that I need to be working on.
Mike talked a lot about, there could be some changes. There's the four core of you that are kind of still under contract, but there's a lot of decisions to be made, just salary cap wise, roster wise, all these kind of things. I don't know, is it frustrating to think that, I know we were talking about, you guys kind of having this window with this group, kind of last year and this year, and for lots of reasons that, it never worked out because of a ton of different reasons. Is it almost frustrating to kind of look back and think of what could have been and just the fact that it never all materialized?
Yeah, but it is what it is. It's the nature of sports. Sometimes it goes your way and you do really well. Sometimes it goes your way and you just fell at the end. And sometimes it just doesn't go your way at all. It is what it is. It's not like we can change anything about it. I think, we all feel like we could have found a way to do better with the cards that we were dealt. But at the end of the day, again, it is what it is. This is where we are. This is what we're dealing with. And we have to move forward from here.
Cool. I'll share with other folks so I don't take up too much time, but thank you. I appreciate it. And, appreciate everything all season.
Appreciate you, Kareem.
Jen.
Hey, Ariel, good to see you, but sorry about the loss yesterday.
Thank you.
Do you watch the playoffs now that you guys are eliminated, or how does that normally work for you?
I don't know. I've always been in playoffs. I guess I might watch it. I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna be feeling. I don't even know how I'm feeling right now, to be honest with you. Besides anger and kind of frustration with myself. Yeah, I don't know.
And Tash mentioned yesterday that all the adversity you guys have gone through this season is going to make you guys better players and better people. And just curious, from your perspective, what has this season taught you personally, or how do you think it's going to make you better?
Ooh, there's lots can be said right there. I think personally, it's helped me see where I am as a basketball player and as a leader, and see where I need to grow. I know there are some things that I do well, and then there are some things that I just haven't taken the time to deep dive into, and that I don't do well. And it's really forced me to see everything at face value for what it is. We didn't have any band-aids, any coverings, anything to cover up what we had going on this year. It was all out in the open. And I think that was good for me personally, because it allowed me to see how I thrive or don't thrive in situations where it's just really tough.
And then last thing for me real quick, you mentioned wanting to get better defensively.
Mhm.
And, you know, from where I'm sitting as decidedly a non-expert, you're a pretty darn good defender. So what does improving on the defensive end look like?
My movements and the way that I'm able to guard the ball. I think I'm a good off the ball defender. I think I can do a lot better job of defending on the ball as far as getting over screens, not getting hit by screens, and communicating earlier and talking louder for my teammates.
Thanks, Ariel, and thanks so much for your time all season.
And thank you, Jen.
Tyler?
Hey, Ariel.
Hey,
Good to see you, obviously, under these circumstances. One of the things, though, that's the coolest things to me in sports is a player getting a contract extension and then be able to continue the ascension of their career. And we really saw that from you this season with your scoring. I know you said there's a lot of stuff that you still want to improve on, but how fulfilling is it for you that you can continue to make steps forward at this point in your career?
Yeah, it feels good. Obviously, this has been my first home as a pro, and I love it here. I'm learning to love the city. I'm not a city person, but I'm learning to love it. And the fans and the people and the community that DC has surrounded us with, just pure love and fight. So I'm thankful that I was able to extend my contract, and also to be a part of an organization that believes in me and wants me to do well and wants to help me grow as a human and as a basketball player. So it's pretty cool, and I'm thankful to be here.
And a quick question about Natasha. I know
Mhm.
this season was hard on her a lot, and I know for the entire team, you guys were forced to carry a heavy burden throughout the entire season with just things been thrown at you. How was she able in the locker room and at practices, able to keep you guys together and keep you guys focused? And I know she talked about coming back from the Olympic break, re-energizing a new purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, Tasha's just full of energy. And her energy is contagious, whether it's fiery or whether it's just a laugh. Tasha's energy is just contagious. And I'm so thankful to have her at our PG spot. She's a fiery leader, and I really appreciate that about her because she knows how to light a fire under her players, under her teammates. And I think she got better this year as a leader. I think she was tested a lot this year as a leader. And I do think she rose to the occasion. I think she stepped up. I know she stepped up. And I think she became a different type of leader this year than what she probably thought she would have had to be at the beginning of this year. So I really have been thankful to be a side of watching Tosh grow. And I think this was a really big year for her. And I'm extremely excited to watch her come back next year and see what we can do.
Thanks, Ariel. All the best this offseason.
Thank you.
Last question to Gabe.
I think you're muted. Is that us?
No, Gabe, can you hear us? I think he's having technical difficulties.
Sorry, Gabe.
And that concludes media for Ariel because we're on really tight time constraints right now. So
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ariel, for your time. Always appreciate it.
Rough night.
Ooh. Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey, how's it going, Cream?
Good. I think I heard Kara said I should start. So I think I'm going to start. Thanks for taking out the time. Appreciate it. For both of y'all, say almost the same question. You know what? When you kind of reflect back on the season, kind of what stands out for you? Because this obviously wasn't the group and the structure and what y'all thought was going to like set up when we were, when this team was constructed back in spring. Theresa, you had to play different roles than was expected. What are the biggest things that kind of stand out to y'all when you kind of reflect on how all of this played out?
I mean, like you said, it wasn't the way it was initially supposed to be set up. But then obviously injuries were a big thing. I don't like to make excuses. So I think even with all the injuries and issues that we dealt with, I think we still underachieved for who we had on the court most of the time. And I guess that just goes to being inconsistent. And I think that's a big word for this team. As bad as it sounds, it's the truth. And we were just way too inconsistent.
I just piggyback on what she said. Like, we obviously this year, with just player availability and everything that happened, it was a difficult season to try to develop consistency. And within that, just within ourselves as a group, and with injuries and stuff, different lineups, it was really hard to remain consistent in a lot of things. And the things that we could have done better that were in our control, we just also fell short on as well. So this was, not the season that we wanted. This isn't the season that we were looking forward to coming into personnel wise, and especially as the season went on. But this was very disappointing.
I mean, I think we were talking about it the other day, and what did we come up? I think there was 3 people who were available for every game throughout the season. Like, that's just crazy when you think about it, So like I said, as much as I don't like to make excuses, that is the reality of it, is that we had a lot of injuries this year.
Have you two, both of you, I believe both of you are free agents kind of going into this off season. Have you even started to think about that, or is that too soon? Just, I guess, how do you kind of approach that? Have you even thought about it yet?
No, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest.
I haven't thought about it at all. I didn't expect our season to be over with today. So this was, yeah.
Yeah, I know that's a quick turnaround and kind of a weird question to ask right now. Mike even said, it's weird talking about some of this stuff literally the day after the season kind of ends. And I'm just gonna ask one more from me. What was the struggle to find an identity? Or, Mike kind of said, we never found an identity throughout the season. One thing that you guys could kind of hang your head on, that this is, what we do best. Is that struggle still something kind of like we were just talking about, the fact that, it's hard to do so when you've got people in and out of the lineup, or what was the issue in trying to find that identity as a group?
I just feel like it was a season of a lot of different things, unexpected things being thrown at us, as well as a combination of just knowing who's available and not available, and coming into games where, we have people that are better shooters, we have people that are better rebounders, and having different people in lineups makes statistics look different, makes the game look different depending on who's available and who's not. And, throughout the season, we've just struggled finding out what we brought to the table as a whole consistently as well. And it's really tough because it feels like the season shouldn't be over. It just feels like we ran out of time because we never really turned the corner and capitalized on a lot of things that were fixable. And it's sad knowing that we cannot play any longer today. And yeah.
Well said.
Okay, well, thank you. Ooh, last one for me. Sorry. Just Theresa, real quick. How are you feeling? I know that back was started flare up on you down the stretch. How are you feeling physically?
I'm feeling fine. Yeah, I was feeling okay. Just those little things here and there, but it's been the whole season of just trying to maintain, what's working for my body and not. But I feel I was available for, every game this season. That's due to a lot of treatment, a lot of work on and off the court to just keep my body in a place where I could be in a tolerable state. I think this offseason is going to be a focus on really, crossing all my T's and dotting all my I's and making sure that this back thing doesn't linger any further. Because although I do feel substantially better, there are a few things that still need to be addressed. And I think that spending some time on it in the offseason, I'll definitely be able to come back and play in a pain-free state.
Cool. Thank y'all. I'll set up. Appreciate everything all season long, y'all.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Graham. We
Graham.
appreciate you.
Jen?
Hey guys, sorry about the loss and thank you so much for taking the time today. Theresa, I hope both you and Elena heal up and bury the Bad Backs Club for good.
Yeah, we're not going to bring that back next season. We're just kind of going to leave it here in 2021. So
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Tosh was telling us yesterday after the game that she thinks that the adversity that you guys faced all season is going to make you better, not only as players, but just as people. And I'm curious from your perspective, kind of similar to Kareem's question, but for you both individually, what do you feel like this season has taught you, or how do you feel like it's going to make you better?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had to be super resilient. With the injuries, we didn't know who was playing in what game. But not only that, also when we would show up every day, we didn't even know who was going to practice because there were people playing in games that weren't practicing as well. So that makes it hard to improve and get better on your days off. And then normally you're allowed to have, male practice players come in, but because of COVID, that wasn't allowed until the last few weeks of the season. So it's hard to come up with practice plans and do certain things when you only have 5-6 people available. But so I think it took a lot of resilience out of all of us to just keep coming in every single day, no matter what the circumstances were, and working hard and just going with whoever we had. I know it's probably super frustrating for the coaches as well, Shalisa and the training staff. I don't think they've probably ever been so busy in their careers. So, we'd like to thank them as well. But, going forward, sometimes injuries happen just out of pure bad luck. Sometimes, possibly you could do a little more with your recovery or pre-training that could help prevent those injuries. So I think everyone is sort of looking at taking all aspects of that a little more serious, and making sure that we are doing everything we can before in order to prevent those injuries, hopefully.
We are on time. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen.
Sorry, I was just going to ask real quick, Leilani, does the loss mean that you get to go home, pretty soon here?
I wish I could say yes, but because Australia, their international borders are shut, and they've had a flare in cases over the last few months. So they've reduced the amount of people again who can come into Australia. So flights are few and far between. And as of now, I don't have a flight until late October. So I'll be around for a little longer.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'll cross my fingers for you. Thank you both so much for your time all season. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are on time constraints, so if you could just keep it to 1 or 2 questions, we'll go to Kellen next.
Hey everyone, Leilani, I think you said that the word you used for this season was inconsistency. How much of that do you attribute to, like we've all talked about, the injuries, having only 3 players play all the games, and how much do you attribute that to some of the more maybe controllable things?
Oh, I mean, I can't give a percentage because it's hard to say. If you don't have time with, with your teammates or the core group or the people who are playing the most minutes, it's hard to find that consistency. It really is. Because you've got to not only get a feel and a flow yourself, but then you need to build that chemistry with your teammates. And how can you do that if you're, out there for limited minutes, or you're in a few games and then you're out for a month, or whatever it is. So, I mean, I think a lot of it is the injuries, because then it also takes a toll on people who might be stepping into those positions once the starters are out, because you're suddenly asked to do different things that maybe you don't usually do, or you weren't brought here to do. And you can, try as hard as you can, but obviously everyone brings something different to the team. And when coach sets up this team, he has those certain players in mind of how his team's going to work, how it's going to flow, what plays he puts in for people. And then when that, gets jerked around in different directions every week, nearly, it's hard because, now he's trying to figure out different rotations and people who do different things than maybe the style that he wanted to play. So there's a lot that goes into it.
That was a very coach-like answer. Thank you.
Tyler?
Hey, my quick questions for Leilani. You talked about like the difficulties of going back to Australia, and I know COVID's kind of been hard on everybody getting to a season and having to go through your normal routines, but how has it been for you to just not have your normal structure to fall back on now for 2 seasons, as some people may have been able to see some little comforts this past year?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been hard for everybody. Last year in the bubble, I guess a lot more people can relate to me because they went through that in the bubble, and that's sort of how I felt this year, just being away from my family again. So like you said, it's been 2 years. So it's been 5 months and 3 days since I've seen my family. So it was really hard. Just when you come home from a game and you're not feeling well or you're disappointed and you see your family, it instantly lifts you up and makes you realize that, while basketball is super important to us and something that we all love to do and provides, this lifestyle that we have, at the same time, there's more to this. And there's more to us as people than just what you see on the basketball court, and our family is what gets us through that and what, gives us more meaning to life. And so to not have that, it definitely makes it hard. But, there's a lot of us that are living in different cities from where we grew up or where our families are. So with COVID, it's restricted people, even just here in America. Families haven't been able to come. TP's family's been through a lot with the hurricane and all that. So there's a lot of issues that we deal with outside in our own personal life that makes it hard.
Thank you. And thank you both for the whole season. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Last question to Rafiq.
Hey guys, sorry you couldn't make the postseason. I just want to ask you, like, what are some of the lessons that you learned throughout the season as far as putting together a much better team?
I think some of the lessons that we learned along the way have to do with, what we were doing off the court. I think that when you are so limited within personnel and every day you don't know who's either in the games or in practices or whatnot, what we were doing in the film room, we learned a lot, being able to see it on film, making mental reps, doing things of that nature, and being able to apply it on the floor. Didn't translate as well as we would like. I think there was a lot of things being said and what we were physically doing was a completely different thing. I think throughout the season, we need to get better with our discipline, with our scouting report discipline, with understanding what our game schemes were. And there's been quite a few times where we just didn't do what was asked. But moving forward, I feel like this group has a lot of potential. We have a bunch of really talented players here and a great staff. And I think that finding the pieces that cohesively work with things that we can do that we can control outside of injuries and things of that nature is important for us to do to move forward. And I think that's something that's easily fixable in the off season.
And a follow-up question for you, Theresa. What do you plan to do to work on your game throughout this off season, since you have literally until next May to continue playing WNBA basketball?
I plan on going back to PT for my back for a little bit. And then once I feel really strong in my body, probably after a month or two, head overseas and play internationally somewhere. I was trying to get wait out for a Chinese deal, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen this year, politically speaking. But we'll see where it pans out. Don't know where I'm going to end up, but definitely plan on going to play overseas.
Well, appreciate your insight and have a good off season.
Thank you.
Mai, did you have a question?
How did she get on?
You in my business, Lay. Yeah, I have a question for Leilani Mitchell. Leilani?
Can I see your qualifications as a news reporter, please?
How did Myisha get that background?
It's like, no, I don't have a question.
Thank you for
Then-
showing
See
up
y'all later.
today. Bye.
See y'all later.
Don't be late
Thanks,
tonight.
TP. Thanks, Lay. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
How'd she get
Bye,
on?
Lay.
Cream.
Hey, Myisha, how you doing? I don't think I could hear you. Is that me on my end?
No, she's muted in the Zoom.
That was me. My bad. My bad. my bad.
Gotcha. There we go. Cool. Appreciate you. And thank you for taking out the time. Quickly,
No
well,
problem.
to start off, just curious, I know it's literally been 24 hours, but, I guess when you kind of look back and think back about this season, what are some of the things that kind of stand out the most about, the adversity that you guys had to overcome and just the way everything kind of shook out, I don't know if it's a frustration or things that could have been, but I'm just curious, when you look back and think back, what stands out the most to you?
Definitely like both of what you just said, like frustrating as in like so many injuries and things we had to overcome throughout the whole season. That's like the frustrating part, but that's the game of basketball. When you play sport, injuries is a part of the game. So just for us to adapt to that and, even have a chance to make the playoffs, not making it, but just have a chance to do it when we're in practices sometimes, like not even having enough players to do a walkthrough or a practice. So, I mean, from that standpoint, it's just like we've been through so much, and I'm glad that we were able to get this far and, still have a chance to make the playoffs. Because, I mean, just like TP said towards the end of her interview, I just caught the end of it, her saying, like, we have some great players and great pieces, and great, like, people overall, like, we're just great people. So it's like not being able to actually, like, play. I know for, like, some people, not just speaking for myself, but not to be able to play in some of the basketball games, but still to be around the team and just have that chemistry. So yeah, I mean, it was frustrating, but it's the game of basketball. The chips just didn't fall in our favor this year.
I'm curious, for you individually, what was the season like for you? Last year really was your breakout. But you weren't sneaking up on anybody this year, and there were game plans for you, and I'm sure you were defended differently. I'm curious, what was this season like for you in those terms, with a bigger role and a bigger reputation going into games, and teams scouting you out, and more than certainly more than in the past, I would assume.
Yeah. It's definitely like a privilege to actually like be on a scouting report. I remember like in college, my coach would always like joke around like, oh yeah, you're not on the scouting report for this, or you're not on the, like jokingly saying it. So just to be on the scouting report, I guess it's a privilege. But for me personally, like this season was just so many highs and lows because of one injury with my knee. Like I've never ever had a serious injury before, and then to sit out so many games and just have to like just be patient and trust my body and trust the trainers and the doctors. So that was annoying. And then when I got sick, that was even more annoying because we were really trying to make a playoff push, and then I get sick, and then now I have to sit out and try to come. Like it was just, this season was so many highs and lows, but I'm just grateful that I was able to play in the last game and like finish it out, like not have to be on the sideline watching the last game, so I'm grateful for that opportunity.
And just the last one for me, big off season for you. Have you thought about heading into the off season and free agency, that kind of stuff, and are you optimistic about it? It's a big opportunity for you. Just any thoughts you have, in terms of that going into the off season?
And yeah, like I have thought about it. I know it's like gonna be a big thing for me, because it's like it's my first year like being in this situation, and like you said before, just having the season that I did in the bubble, and parts of this season too, just showing what I'm capable of doing and what I can bring to the team. So yeah, I've thought about it, and I'm trying not to think about it as much. Like before I left the gym, I was actually talking to Tosh about like this, but she's like, don't even stress about it, don't even worry about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just whatever happens.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it, and thanks for everything all season long. You've always been great.
Thank you. No, you've always been great.
Sometimes, not always. All right,
Always,
I'm turning it over.
always.
Kellen.
Hey, Myisha, good to see you.
Hey, Kellen.
Mike was just saying, I think early on in his just presser that the team's not in rebuild mode, but maybe like reset button mode and kind of redeveloping an identity. I guess how close do you think the team is to, obviously, we've talked about injuries and all these things, all this stuff that the team has had to go through this season, but how close as a team do you feel to being where you want it to be? And obviously I assume that's the playoffs and maybe a deep playoff run, but how close is it to that, do you think it is?
Real close. I mean, this year, I feel like if we keep talking about injuries, but that's just how our chips fell this year. But I felt like if we were able to stay healthy the whole season, then I mean, we would be right up in there, the top 4 teams. We competed with all of the teams this year, close games. So for me, I think we're really close. We're not in the. I know Coach T was talking when we all had our meeting today with him of us not being a good like shooting team, 3-point shooting team, and defensive team. We weren't good at that. So I mean, those are some of the things we got to work on in the off season, just so we can get back up to Mystic basketball, what everyone knows and what we strive for. And I mean, that's a deep run in the playoffs. So yeah.
And was it just did it feel like there was just not enough opportunities to kind of, because of people not being on the court, to kind of mesh in a way that you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard when you don't have a full practice, like people practicing, like full team practicing, and then we also didn't have scout guys this year. Once we came back from Olympics, then you also have Olympians who, had to go away too. So it's just like a lot of stuff just was not working in our favor this year, with us just having chemistry, and also, me, coming late to not even being at training camp and meeting the team in Indiana for was it the third game or fourth game in. So I mean, it was hard to find chemistry and just maintain it, and also like find our identity, because that, what Coach Hughes was talking about, just finding our identity. We were really unable to do that this year. So yeah.
And the last one for me, is there, and this may be a odd way to ask this, but would you have done anything differently? Like I guess you can't do it, injuries are, you never know when those are going to happen, but would you have done anything differently to kind of maybe, I don't know, to, have more consistency on the team?
Yeah, like win games.
That works.
If we would have won one more game, I mean, there you have it. But yeah, wait, what was the question?
Well, I guess what would you have done differently? The controllables, the controllable stuff, maybe not so much the injuries, which, sometimes you can't really control that.
Yeah, you can't control that. The controllables, I mean, yeah, I'll get back to you on that one.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Myisha.
My thing is just winning one more game. That was it for me.
Okay. Answer. Thanks.
Last question to Gabe.
Hey, Myisha, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time. I was just wondering, next year when you come back, what is the one thing, if there's one thing that you could change about your game in this off season heading into next year, what would it be?
That's a great question. I don't think it's just one thing, to be honest with you. For me, right now, I need to get back to going into players as like in the post, getting into players, not shying away from the contact or not taking the hit. That's one of the biggest things for me right now, as well as continuing to improve my shot and my decision making. The coaches talked about a lot of me being a playmaker. So just having the opportunity, which I will have, to have the ball in my hand sometimes to help Tosh off. Just being able to make plays, whether that's, on the defensive end or the offensive end, just being able to make plays.
Okay, cool. And do you know your off-season plan, your overseas plans yet? Or / you want to share?
Yeah, no, I signed with the team in Italy. So we will see. Right now they're saying 10 days, got to be there in 10 days, but we will see how that's going to play out.
All right. Well, thank you so much and good luck, and can't wait to see you next year.
Thank you.
That's it, Mai. Thank you. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you. Is that Kara?
Yeah, it's Kara.
Okay, bye, Kara. And you
Bye,
guys are
Mai.
awesome too, media.